The latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. West Africa is once again in the spotlight as similarly feud between Benin and Niger erupts into open diplomatic confrontation after nearly 2 years of IC. The neighboring countries have now crossed a new red line, expelling each other's diplomats in a tit-for-tat showdown, signaling a deepening regional rift. I want to say thank you to all my members who are supporting. Now you can see that there's a new change in the latest, and I say all the support that you are giving to me is what I am using to improve everything. Diplomatic sources from both countries confirmed on Sunday that the expulsions took place this week, marking the most serious escalation since Niger military coup in July 2023, which overthrew President Mohamed Bazoum. Black Raven, Dr. Yang, Moses, and Tajan, I appreciate you for making sure the movement moves ahead. Thank you so much. What triggered the latest clash? According to a Benin diplomatic source, Benin expelled an intelligence agent and a police officer stationed at Niger's embassy in Cotonou in recent days. While no official reason was publicly stated, the move immediately provoked a sharp response from Niamey. All my super thanks gifters to, I say thank you so much for making the latest community to grow, because now you can see the changes and it is what you are giving me, the support. That is what I am using to get the necessary things that I need in order to improve the latest. In retaliation, Niger declared the first consular at Benin Embassy in Niamey persona non grata, giving him 48 hours to leave the country, citing reciprocity in an official note dated Thursday. Deep mistrust since the coup. We know that ever since our all-in-all came into office, they always say that Benin has been a point that these people are using to destabilize the nation. And it's like Benin is still in bed with France.
Reports still indicate that there have been accusations of subversive activities and destabilization allegedly originating from Niger. Benin had therefore decided to expel Nigerian diplomats from its side. Are these accusations linked to the recent events? The coup d'etat, or rather the attempted coup d'etat that took place on December 7th. Last, why has the Beninese government specifically accused Niger of engaging in subversive and destabilizing activities? We will try to understand. But another piece of news is also that Niger has decided to apply reciprocity. And over there, Beninese diplomatic personnel in Niger have consequently been declared persona non grata for now. So is this a diplomatic escalation or a new diplomatic escalation between Niger and Benin? We're discussing it once again with you, Mr. F. Ha. You mentioned MS Psych, that Niger simply applied the principle of reciprocity following the expulsion on the false pretext. After the expulsion of these diplomats on the false pretext, I sent it, of subversive activities and related destabilization efforts. I think it's regrettable, first of all, that in a turbulent geopolitical context, where Africa is targeted by all the demons of the Western American bloc, on the African continent, two brotherly countries cannot manage to listen to each other. That is what should first be deplored. The second point is that we must nonetheless note that we are dealing with two ideologies. In Benin, you have Franafrique, which is aligned, as you know, and which holds its own ideology, its own perception of new international relations. Within today's geopolitical context, on the other side, you have the Alliance of Sahel States, the Confederation, the ACE in Niger, who believe it is absolutely necessary to break free from the yoke, ISNT, that American, Western imperialism, and it can't work with a country. It's true that Benin has the right to make its own choices. to have its partners, whether bilateral or multilateral. But as soon as your diplomacy threatens my sovereignty, as soon as your diplomatic relations, or your diplomatic choices are capable, or it's possible that those choices harm the integrity of my territory, I believe the Nigerian authorities are justified in keeping the border with Benin closed, all the more so because French mercenaries who were expelled from Nigerian territory have redeployed to Benin, and Benin is among the countries that closed their borders during these recent events were aware of. Yes, because Benin was the first to close its border with Niger. Following the revolutionary movement we know about. But again here, the Nigerian authorities applied the principle of reciprocity. However, when this border closure issue began having harmful effects on Benin's economic situation, Beninese authorities thought they should reopen their borders, but only on the condition that on the other side of the border, the same Bidonu which generals, students said, "We cannot reopen our border for two reasons. You started it in the first place. You're harboring mercenaries we expelled from our country into yours, and these mercenaries threaten to return. To rescue soldier Bazumi, can like me remind you again that this operation, ISNT, right? An extraction mission for soldier Bazoum, it remains an option. It remains an option still on the table. Isn't it part of the series, or if you prefer, of Marcon? The second point, you've outright taken over embassies, the embassies, which are diplomatic taxes, that are completely closed, that are non-functional, on both sides of the border. Yes, in the end, it's. We can only witness the deterioration continuing in diplomatic relations between the two states, which is still a major problem. And indeed, a very serious problem. I would like to conclude this first part. I mentioned two things. Africa is already facing multiple problems. Yes. And most of these problems come from outside. And if we have on the continent presidents who collaborate, who do not want to put the interests of Africa first, or the other country first, it's a big problem. I was referring here to Benin. Yes, we know that Mr. Talon is Macron's personal friend and others. But state interests cannot be relegated to second place. State interests take precedence over heads of states' personal interests. Because the head of state is merely the people's representative. And from this perspective, the Beninese president should respect the position of the Beninese people. And I think that today, the Beninese people are largely united around Pan-Africanism, unless just now, when you open the phone lines, we hear the opposite. But I believe the Beninese president, from our point of view, should prioritize Benin's national interests, rather than his personal relationships, as a head of state or as an individual with Macron and others. Regarding Niger, I think they are justified. You know that the Confederation, they are justified in closing their borders. They must show firmness. Since the Confederation is the target of those criminals who do not want African emancipation, who do not want the sovereignty of African peoples and African states, who do not want to respect, right, the integrity of our territories. It must be maintained. Close its borders. Unfortunately, this has perverse effects on both sides. It's true that on the Niger side, alternatives have been found for import and exploitation activities. But I say, in this diplomatic crisis, which has an economic and even commercial impact, I believe Benin is suffering more than Niger.
Relations between two neighbors have remained tense since Niger military takeover. Niamey has repeatedly accused Benin of attempting to destabilize the country. Allegations that authorities in Cotonou have firmly denied, which we know very well that these people will never agree to what our all in all have been saying, and we know very well that they will never lie to us, because these are the only people that will tell you what it is, the situation in Africa. The diplomatic standoff is unfolding against a broader backdrop of geopolitical realignment in West Africa. The AES factor and regional divide. Niger is now closely aligned with Burkina Faso and Mali, both also under military-led transitional governments. The three countries have withdrawn from ECOWAS and formed a new bloc, the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, which we know became because they said ECOWAS wasn't doing anything, and ECOWAS, instead of serving the interests of the people, is rather serving the interests of oppression. United by a strong anti-imperialist and pro-sovereignty stand, the AES countries have openly criticized coastal West African states, including Benin, for maintaining close ties with France, their former colonial ruler. And we know that this is the best thing that our ECOWAS leaders are doing, because we have seen that even when there was a coup in Benin Republic, the former ECOWAS chairperson Tinubu was the one who went to thwart the coup. Why this matters? This latest diplomatic fallout highlights a growing divide between Sahel states and coastal ECOWAS members, raising concern about regional stability, security operation, and the future of diplomacy in West Africa. Africa is supposed to be a unified force, and that was the reason to which ECOWAS was created. But we have realized that the ECOWAS state that we know is rather not doing what will bring us together. As expulsions replace dialogue, one question now looms large. Who will be next in a regional increasingly defined by blocks, borders, and broken trust? There are a lot of questions that we have to ask. These are leaders who we trust so much that they should be the ones that will change the narrative in Africa. We have seen the beautiful speeches that these people always give us each time they meet in their regional blocks to at least claim that they are fighting in the interest of the African. But the time that we need these people to work together and to prove their love for us, we see that these people always work in the other way round. Because if Benin Republic was fighting for freedom, we expect ECOWAS to join, not ECOWAS to send a standby force to thwart a coup, to give power back to the person the people are raising questions about. We have seen that these leaders in the democratically elected are not doing what is supposed to be. Like one time the president of Ghana was saying that what is bringing these coups must be tackled. Like we know the things that are all in all cited that is making them to rise against these leaders. But ECOWAS, instead of doing something about it, we see that ECOWAS is rather doing the opposite. The root cause of all these things they don't want to tackle, because all these leaders who are leading us, that we need them to be accountable to us. We don't see that. All the nations are complaining about their leaders looting. We don't see things moving forward. Like the Sierra Leone, the now ECOWAS presidents, during Christmas, I even forgot to make that video. When we are talking about hardship, hunger, and whatever, this leader wasn't thinking about all this, but only came out with a statement that they have stolen rice from the state house. That should tell you you are not a good father. Your people are hungry. And if they think your home is where the food is stored, they have every right to enter, because you are supposed to make sure that there is food in every home. So Benin, we know, has always been on the lips of all of us because of what Benin is doing. So Benin to fight for the liberation of Africa, Benin is doing the opposite, and that is why France did everything possible to make sure that they thwart the coup. If not, what has the business of Africa got to do with France? Why is it that everybody thinks that Africa is still a place that they can easily control? We need to move forward. We need to love ourselves, and we need to start behaving in a way that will give us freedom, and not for us to continue to be in bed with the same people that we claim we are fighting to liberate ourselves from. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided before, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world. In Africa, West Africa, and in Niger.